Raft watched as his men moved quietly, 200 men, each with a briefed mission made to them on the island, and here to execute. No time to waste, so no formation, just straight to their task. There was a horseshoe-shaped wall surrounding this dock, a very large horseshoe, made from trees, wood planks, buildings, surrounding houses, anything that they could find. When they built the wall, those weeks were bloody. Cal and Raft were here with carpenters, leading companies of soldiers to fight off the waves and bring in materials to construct this 20-foot monstrosity of a wall. Being 10 feet deep and a tower every 100 feet, there were 10 towers here. The inside of the wall had been constructed with the protection of the outer side of the wall, so there were small rooms, such as storage closets, for shields, weapons, tools, to small housing for those who stayed out overnight. There were security forces that stayed here, but with the wall intact, they had strict orders to not give up their life to protect the dock. The city, yes, but not the dock. The towers, being twice as tall as the wall, held a soldier each with a ladder to get up and down. They found that the creatures couldn't climb complex structures, so the soldier would be relatively safe at the top. Outside the wall was a large open field called No Man's Land, empty, aside from some ropes laid out about a foot high, meant to trip a creature if they run past. The soldiers on the towers watched this field, with a soldier going in between each tower, checking on the soldiers during their shifts. No one spoke here. In fact, at night, only 3 torches were allowed to be lit at a time. They found that light attracts creatures, and to keep light to a minimum, they would have 3 braziers lit at night on the docks, meant to be seen from the island by spyglass. All 3 lit meant everything is fine. 1 on meant they need reinforcements. 2 on didn't have a meaning. Raft watched as his soldiers went about their duties, as was the normality for this particular operation. 50 reinforced the walls, and 150 going through the vine. The vine is what the soldiers ended up calling the trail in the trees. Through one of the front reinforced towers, thicker than a boat and as tall as the rest, was a rope bridge that led to the tree line. This was the start of a 3-hour walk through a complex path through the trees. The creatures couldn't climb trees, which meant as long as they can stay in the trees, they can pass without issue. But this is still a jungle. Humans aren't the only creatures climbing through the trees. From large cats, rodents, bugs, overly protective monkeys, and the list just goes on. This trail would lead somewhere, but the trees are not exactly lined up nice and straight. Though many scouting missions, Raft's people managed to find a path that leads to where they're going, despite going in a vine-like pattern. The soldiers were divided into squads. Half would carry shields on their backs and a side sword. The other half was divided between archers, archer support, and spearmen. Raft moved with the mean going to the fields, though the vine. That was their destination, the fields. No fields around here, only sand and jungle. Raft moved with his mean. All were silent, moving with quiet, practiced feet. Raft made his way from the back to the front. It took time. Making sure each solider saw their caption was with them helped their confidence. Each lieutenant would hand Raft a handwritten report. Raft would make a hand gesture in response, thanking them and moving on. Any time an issue was needed for him to be involved, it would be written down. Sure, they had practiced hand movements and ways to communicate using just their hands, but things written down didn't get misunderstood. Raft lead the security detail. Another large group of civilians, led by a man named Malop, was moving on along this trail with them, through the thick branches with roped sidings, wood-planked walkways through these trees. The trail was designed to hold a cow. Though cows are not quiet, that was the original purpose behind building the vine. Malop brought many with him, with empty sacks and backpacks, some with carts with special rubber wheels that rolled quiet. Raft's job was to keep them alive, and part of that involved keeping them quiet. Civilians didn't have the same discipline as soldiers, but they did share the same fear, and because of that, Malop brought out the same crews for these jobs, those who understood when to stop and hold still, and knew not to talk or make sound.